Hello and welcome. The IPKF, or the Indian Peacekeeping Force that was deployed in Sri Lanka between 1987 and 1990, has had a checkered history. And on 29th of July 1987, as most of you are aware, the Rajiv Gandhi Jayawardene Accord, or the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord, actually facilitated the deployment of the Indian Peacekeeping Force in the island nation. But what happened exactly and how that deployment panned out, what were the outcomes of that deployment, is something that has been debated at a number of places over the years. It has been 38 years since then. And there's always something new that one needs to learn from such overseas deployment. It was perhaps the first overseas deployment at such large quantity and quantum of troops that the Indian military did in a neighboring country. And one of the participants in IPKF operations was young, that time Second Lieutenant Yash Saxena, who superannuated from the army as a colonel, veteran of the Special Forces, and has had tremendous experience in various counter-insurgency, counter-infiltration operations in various theatres within India. But as a young second lieutenant, his blooding into the Indian army or into the hot wars was perhaps the most difficult, which was in Sri Lanka's IPKF operation. So welcome to this program. 38 years later, I think you're speaking to somebody on camera like this. I'm not sure if you've spoken to somebody else before.
This is the first time.
This is the first time, and we are honored that you agreed to speak to us about what you felt that time and what you feel now after 38 years. So let me start straight away. Where were you deployed, first of all? Which geography? And what was your experience?
As a Special Forces officer, one got deployed in all the sectors. We had 4 sectors primarily for the IPKF to be deployed. One was the Jaffna sector. One particular division was looking after that.
Yeah.
Then it expanded to Trincomalee. There was another sector that was there. Then from Trincomalee, it went further east towards Batticaloa. And lastly, it was Vavuniya where the actual insurgency happened. Because what happened was that in the month of October, when Jaffna got captured by the Indian Army, so the entire leadership of the LTTE escaped to the jungles of Mullaitivu. And that is where, in the jungles of Mullaitivu, the Vavuniya sector played a major role, the Vani sector, what they called it. That was the thing. So I've operated in all 4 sectors, but primarily in the Vani sector.
Vani sector. So because that was the heart of the insurgency, like you mentioned.
That's right.
And ultimately, the gory end of Prabhakaran and his colleagues' top leadership came in that Mullaitivu, Kilinochi area, especially Nandikanal, that lagoon.
That's right.
In May 2009. But let me go back a little bit. You talked about October 87. July was the accord. July 29th was the accord. And then between July and October, how did things change? When did you start feeling that the Tamils, or especially the LTTE, was getting hostile, was becoming hostile?
So there was a very typical incident that took place almost at the same time. There were about 13 Tamil militants and who were captured by the Sri Lankan army. Now, there was a lack of trust that was coming in, and they all died in custody. That was the catalyst to start, and what happened was that the LTT blamed it on the IPKF that we did not take action enough against the Sri Lankans.
Right.
So that's how
you didn't prevent it. I think that was the
yes.
prevailing sentiment. That Indian army didn't prevent it.
The only issue was that they were still under the custody of the Sri Lankan army, and they were not with us.
Right. And they committed suicide.
They committed suicide by taking cyanide.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the Prabhakaran. There's a very famous speech that he gave in Jaffna. It's almost like the Che Guevara speech. He gave that now is the time to not depend on the India as a nation, and we must fight our own war.
I see.
And that's how,
So he restarted insurgency,
yes,
but
absolutely.
This time against the Indian army.
Against the Indian army.
And then Wani became the battleground.
That's right.
Mostly.
So once in October, Jaffna fell with a lot of sacrifices
Cost,
from the Indian
yes,
army.
lot of cost.
And because, as you know, the biggest weapon of the Sri Lankan forces was surprise.
Yes.
So they surprised the Indian army with blocking all the major axes by putting jerrycans of
Gasolines,
explosives
explosives,
into the surface, and so we had a major issue of getting into, and from the axes. Then we had to open a aerial axis, and that's how we captured Jaffna. And then the leadership before that went into the jungles of Vani, that is Vapunia.
That's how you started operating. And how long did you operate in Vani?
We were there till the end of 1989.
Okay.
And 89 onwards, then we went to Trinco.
Okay.
But the troops were
So
there.
you stayed the full 3 years.
We came
there.
out after the last day was 24th March 1990. We came out on the 2nd of April.
Oh, even 1 week later.
That's
the
right.
Special forces first go in
That's
and
right.
come out last.
Absolutely.
Let's come out
First
last.
in, last out.
First and last
Absolutely.
out. Absolutely. So let's talk about the Tamil Tigers or the LTTE cadres as fighters or insurgents. What was your experience with them?
So what I was talking to you was that the very name suggests Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. So they were fighting for their motherland. The motivation level was very high. I mean, they knew that they were fewer in number, and they would be fighting against a regular army with more weaponry, more firepower. So they had to make their own ways to do it. And a person, if he has a cyanide capsule around his neck, I think that's indication enough that he can die for the cause.
He's already made up his mind. If he has to lose a life, he'll
Absolutely.
lose a life. Yeah.
That's the thing. Not be caught alive.
Yeah.
And apart from that, they used their weapons and whatever they had very well. I as a SF soldier learned from them that if you have an AK-47 and you have 30 rounds in it, so how do you get the 31st round? So you put 1 round in the chamber.
Oh, really?
To make it 31. This we learned from them.
I see.
How to use 2 magazines at one time. So you strap the other magazine on the opposite side, on the magazine.
Really?
This is what we learned from what we learned
So
from the
tactics
LTT.
were really
absolutely.
very unconventional, I would say. They use the terrain very well, if I'm not mistaken.
They use the terrain. They use the every bit of the vegetation very well. I mean, we got to know that they used to mark us. Indian Army moving anywhere, we had a typical smell to our bodies, because you eat a one particular type of food, you rub the same oil, a different oil as compared to what the Tamils use it.
Right.
So when we realized that, and we got to know this after we caught a few militants. So we started playing their own game by rubbing fish oil onto us.
Wow.
So I mean, these are the things we learned from them.
Correct.
Apart from that, they used to, we used to wear jungle shoes in those days.
Sure.
And they knew what the marks of jungle shoes are. So we stopped wearing jungle shoes.
I see.
So there's a lot we learned.
So they forced you to innovate also.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and let me tell you, the minor tactics, whatever good we are as of today, is primarily the nursery was those 1987 to 1990.
For the special forces.
Yeah, for the special force and for the Indian
And for
Army.
the Indian Army.
Yeah, we learnt how to fight the gorilla as a gorilla. That is what it is.
Wonderful. I think that very few people have actually spoken about. So I'm glad you spoke about that.
That's
but
right.
let's move from there to now these last 38 years. Every year some of you get into a group and go to the National War Memorial. You try and sort of commemorate and remember your fallen comrades, your fallen fellow soldiers. But as a nation, and this is my view also, I mean my view, but I'm asking you, what do you feel the country thinks of the IPKF operation?
See, I'll tell you, about 6 months ago, I had gone to Colombo on an official visit. And I went to the, someone told me there's an IPKF memorial.
Yes.
So I went there and stood in front of that memorial. And I realized that the Sri Lankan populace as such, is indebted to us. That's why this memorial is there. The IPKF memorial is a huge thing.
Sure.
And everyone in Sri Lanka knows about it. Dedicated to us.
Yes.
We don't have a memorial of that kind
In India.
In India. number one.
That's one.
So
like
that
you
is
know.
something which one needs to look into.
Sure.
The second thing is that every operation, every campaign is an activity which the Indian Army does on orders, irrespective of the political scenario.
Right.
We need to honor that and celebrate that. Whether you on whatever particular day, irrespective. For heaven's sake, we lost 1166 soldiers of Indian Army.
Sure.
I mean,
One of the biggest
almost 3,000
sacrifices. Yeah.
almost 3,000 people maimed. My own battalion, on one particular day, we had four of my officers injured in ID blasts.
Right.
And similarly, it's happened across the board.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think
We shouldn't brush it under the carpet.
Yes, so the nation owes it to the army.
Right.
I mean,
And to the fallen comrades and
Absolutely.
also those who got maimed and injured.
Absolutely.
Really. So, this group that you have, I think nearly 300-400 people gather
Absolutely.
every year.
That's right.
We've done that program last year, I remember. But I must say this, because I heard it from the horse's mouth. The then Defence Secretary of Sri Lanka, later President of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, in an interview to me in 2009, immediately after the Ilam War 4 was over, I said, when you look back, because he himself was an army officer, he was a CO
Correct. That's right.
of the Gajaba regiment,
Correct.
2nd Gajaba. So he said, let me say this, that what the IPKF started and could not finish because of various political reasons, international reasons, we managed to finish it because the IPKF had given us the lead. I think there is that acknowledgement, and he was the one who was responsible to make that IPKF memorial in Colombo. So you're right that India needs to sort of make up for this oversight, let me say, to give it benefit of the doubt. But I'm sure every year you remember 29th July and then 24th of March perhaps
That's right.
of 1990. One final thought from you. Having said what you said about having learnt a lot of things from the LTTE also, the special forces have a special responsibility. You go to places where ordinary soldiers are not allowed to go or may not be going. As a special forces officer, what is your take on the employability of the special forces, even in today's context where technology has changed, where I would think it's more standoff weapons usage, all that. What is the utility of special forces?
I think the role of the special forces has to keep evolving with times. Apart from being a very good infantry soldier, you also have to be a highly technocrat person. The technology is a weapon that has to be used to your advantage. So if I, as a special forces person, do not know the nuances of cyber, then probably I'm not a great special forces person. If I don't know drone technology, the benefits of drone technology,
Right.
then probably I'm not in the right place. So it has to be all along, and the role, because of this, the role of the special forces operator becomes even more complex, and it becomes more challenging, and that's how the thing
But
works.
more important also, I would think.
Absolutely, that's right.
So that's right. So I know it's wonderful chatting with you, and I think maybe in a longer format sometime, or maybe even a book is now due from people like you who have participated in the IPKF operations, which has not been recognized or which has fallen off the radar of the collective memory of this country. But this is a small effort we are doing collectively to make people remember that there was an operation called IPKF, and there was a period when soldiers sacrificed their lives for a third country or another country. So I think this is the best way one could do a small contribution to that. So I thank you very much for coming over and speaking to us on a very important topic.
Thank you, Nitin, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Pleasure.